Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Cocktail Hour. I am Meg.
And I'm Nikki, and if you're a wedding vendor heading to a wedding this weekend, may the odds ever be in your favor. And if you happen to have a wedding or two or three, these drinks that we do not have in our hands are dedicated to you.
We should talk about why that is because I didn't even think about that with our normal intro. We are doing this at the ass crack of dawn, y'all. So as much as I would love to have a drink in our hand, I just don't think it would be the best move for us right now in getting our day started.
As working women, 6 a.m. just so happens to be the best time for us to record so that we can have the rest of our day, the rest of our week, everything ahead of us. And getting tipsy at 6 a.m. does not seem like it would be in anyone's best interest.
Agreed. I think that would cause comments, maybe concern, emotional outbursts from people. So
But also, happy Valentine's Day.
yes. Happy Valentine's Day. Do you and Craig do things for Valentine's Day?
I don't do Valentine's Day. I think it's dumb. We don't do gifts. I don't want a gift. Like, if he wants to take me to dinner, then that's great. But I don't expect anything. I think it's dumb.
That's fair. I'm not really in the this is dumb camp, but I definitely am in the I just don't care.
I'm too old to expect stuff or want to do anything literally any day of the week, especially on, and I love, so it's not like I'm oh, fuck love, I'm anti-love club. No, I love love. I think it's cute. I think if people love to celebrate it, that's awesome. But for me, I'm like, this would be a waste of time.
Yeah. I also think the nature of our job, we see romance and we see that on a weekly basis. So it can be it's a lot of socialization. It's a lot emotionally on a person. So I feel like when it comes to things like this, we're like, it's okay.
I'm good.
I could take a nap instead.
I would love a nap.
Yeah.
That sounds so delicious.
So delicious. Okay, so we have a planner today who was fired, which just makes me itch a little bit. So I'm excited to see what you think about that. And a great example of what not to do if you're a photographer working for a wedding vendor. So on a separate episode, bless you. I knew a second one was coming, maybe a third.
It's the winter.
You're good. But we had a submission that was from a wedding photographer who had a florist bring their own photographer, and it was a great example of what not to do when we had talked about hey, you should do this, but here's a good way to go about it. So those submissions are not affiliated, but I read it and went, yeah, we should probably go over that. Before we do any of that though, we've been talking about our road trip and going on it and all the things we were going to do. So let's do a recap. Let's start at why we were in Vegas in the first place. So tell us about the competition.
The competition went well. It was, I think when you sign up to do things and you've never done something before, they can feel a lot more scary than they actually are. So I was very nervous, and I think it's because I had never done something like this before. And then getting through it, it was like, oh, okay, that was not as scary as one made it out to be. So yeah, I had a ton of fun. I had a lot of energy. It was a great time though. It was a really great setup. They did an amazing job organizing it. Again, if anyone is ever interested, it's called Hyrox, Hyrox. It was so cool, so well done, so well organized. They have them all over the States now and the world if you want to go to Berlin and do one. But it was so cool. It was the greatest experience, and I got to hang out with my gym friends outside of the gym, and then we got in a van and drove around and did absolutely none of the things we said we were going to do, which is honestly so great because I was not interested.
Yeah. I think that I've been thinking, it's been on my mind a lot of man, I feel like we were so unproductive, but in the same sense, I think we needed that. Because even though we may not be in busy wedding season, we're still busy doing other things. And I think that week, like, yes, we had moments of, hey, let's stop at a coffee shop and work for a little bit, but it was a time to disconnect and just be like, you know
For
what?
sure.
I'm out. I'm not responding to emails. I try to do a very dedicated job at I am not responding to emails. I put on an out of office and I was gonna let it chill and I'll get back to emails today. Definitely did a lot of that last night. But going back to the competition, I will say Nikki is like, oh yeah, it wasn't scary once you got going. It was scary for me to watch as as a high calorie person, as we heard before. I was like, this looks nuts. But I was so proud of Nikki and her partner, Matt. They did a phenomenal job. It was so much fun to watch. The hour and 20 minutes or, whatever that we were there felt like that.
I know, it literally felt so fast for me. I all of a sudden was like, how am I done?
I didn't think that you were going to think that. For me, I was running from one place to another, like, making sure I was in the right spot to see you. But for you, I figured that this was feeling like the duration of high school.
It was
from
so
7
fast.
to 12.
It was literally the fastest thing I've ever gone through. Like, I can't even tell you how I thought it was going to be dying at the end of this thing, like on the ground, panting. I could have gone probably way harder, but because it was our first one, I didn't want to die. I wanted to have a really good, clear expectation of like what I was getting myself into. So when I finished and I was like, oh, I feel like really good. Like, my knees don't even hurt.
Yeah.
It was very surprising to me. Now, the next day, I couldn't physically move, really. I couldn't walk. My legs, my whole body was like in a state of shock. And then we sat in a car for like 8 hours. So that was not my highest IQ moment of thinking like, oh, let's road trip immediately after this competition that you're doing and go sit in a car. I literally can't think of anything worse.
Yeah. And not only sit in a car, sit in
traffic,
but like a death van. Bless you. Oh,
it's coming. Okay,
but we were in this van, and here's what I'll say is I had taken this van out in my early 20s and my mid 20s, and I was fine and it was nice. Y'all, I feel like the same van that I took out back then is the same van we had now. Pretty rickety. We're driving from Las Vegas to San Diego. Traffic hits, like insane traffic. Everyone was going back home to California. We're in a van that's not supposed to go over 65 miles an hour. And the roads, I don't know what they're paying for tax-wise in California.
The roads are horrible.
Insane. And you're driving in this van. I hope you're watching on YouTube or Spotify so you can see what I'm doing. You're driving on this van and literally, like, I'm not over-exaggerating. Like, you're moving so like this and you hit a bump and it's like, "Coco," and the entire thing, like, shakes to your actual ussy. And you're like, oh, okay, the tires are going to fly off this thing. Yeah. It was an adventure to say the least, but I also think that aided in our not wanting to like do anything. We were so exhausted by the time we were getting places. We were just like, we're gonna sit.
Also, I want to clarify because like I think we have very different definitions of camper van.
Okay, hit me with your definition.
Well, Craig even was like, wait, that is not, he was like, that's a van with a fold-out bed.
It's got a whole kitchenette. We just didn't utilize any of that.
I understand that, but I think when people think camper van, like even my friends who we met up with, they were like, oh, you don't have a shower. Like,
no, that's an RV.
No, they're thinking like a sliding door, like Sprinter camper
like a
van.
built-out Sprinter, yeah.
Which are available, but no, that's not what we were in. We were in a van with 2 seats in the front. A death van. What did you call it? A murder van?
Yeah.
The literal death grenade, which it was nice. I mean, for it to be a 6-year-old vehicle.
No, seriously. I think there was 800,000 miles on the van.
At one point, Meg looks down and she goes, this literally has almost 400,000 miles on it. How are we making it back?
I just wanted
How are we going to make it back in this thing? We're pushing 65 on the highways too because we're like, we have places to be.
Yeah.
In what world are we driving 60 on this highway as people in California are darting flying by us.
They're not happy with us.
They are like crazy California drivers.
Yeah.
They looked like they wanted to murder us in our kill van. And it was just, yeah, we got to the point where we were like, let's just enjoy this. I got some gummies. I got some THC gummies in California. And I chilled out. I jumped off of a cliff.
Yes, you did.
Not to not to self-harm or anything like that.
Yeah, she did not take gummies to literally fly off the
made
cliff.
it sound like I'm like jumping, and I didn't jump in the water. I went paragliding or parachuting. I don't know. But it was the best experience.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did it. It was literally so cool. Meg and I showed up to the Torrey Pines glide hangar, which is like, I don't know, 20 minutes outside of San Diego. And when we first got there, all the videos on TikTok, if you look up Torrey Pines glide hangar on TikTok or glide port, it literally is like all of these cool, vibey people like flying with their parachutes and their paragliding, and it looks so cool. We get there, nobody's in the sky.
No.
There's not enough wind. It is wildly concerning watching these old men try to get their parachutes up.
Yeah.
And none of them are working. And then it just
And we watched for an hour.
Oh, for an hour before anybody got in the sky.
Yeah.
And I kept joking, being like, so should we do it? And Meg's like, the fact that nobody's in the sky is telling me that I actually am not going to be doing this.
It's like that Simpson character, like, I'm in danger.
Literally.
I don't feel good about this.
Literally, it wasn't looking promising. And then right before we left, I was like, you know what? Let me just inquire really quickly. Nobody else had done like a tandem flight yet. I went in. I was the first person to sign up, and I did it. And my instructor, Alex, shout out to Alex at Torrey Pines Glideport or whatever the hell it's called. He was literally the best. I loved him. He was making dad jokes as we were up in the air. And he was very respectful of my flying requests because
Yeah.
I don't like heights. I don't do roller coasters even. Like I'm not a stomach dropping girly. And so we didn't do stomach dropping activities until the very end. And then I wanted to throw up the rest of the day.
Yeah. And that was a big thing for me is I thought to myself, if I did anything, I'd jump out of a plane because then it's done in a split second. But the idea of being up there for an extended period of time, I was like, I get really motion sick, but it was so fucking cool to be able to see you do it.
Cool.
And then seeing your videos from up there.
It was so cool. We saw dolphins, we saw surfers, we saw naked men on the beach because the beach below is apparently clothing optional.
Yeah.
But it was so cool. I loved it.
Outside of that, so competition, almost died, paragliding / parasailing. I don't think we did. Like,
got some good Italian food, I will say. Very good Italian food, good wine.
Good ocean. Got to
Yes, walk by the ocean in Oceanside, which was beautiful.
had an engagement session with our couple.
Yeah.
Oh, so we went to the Lafayette Hotel.
Oh, that was so cool.
So incredibly cool. Our couple had, they live in San Diego and they had called it out like, hey, if we could shoot here. Such a vibe.
So great.
So much fun. But other than that, yeah, I'm 32. I'm not 23. Bless you. She is just,
sorry guys.
You're totally good. But I think a van trip for me, I think that if Adam and I would have went, we might have never been getting married because
Really?
it would have, I think, well, picture like a 30-year-old and he's a 40-year-old. He likes a nice hotel room every night.
That's so funny because I'm the opposite. Craig and I were like, and mind you, Craig is 47.
Yeah.
And the man is like ready to buy a van yesterday. But again, like a built out, something with a toilet. But I literally was like, we could do that. Like he and I and the dog, like that would be. We wanted to do that last summer, and then I got COVID, of course.
Yeah.
Right when we were gonna do it. So I almost said sobered up. Once I got unsick and became well again, we actually just took my car after my 10-day quarantine and went to South Dakota with the dog.
I think for me, I love the Subaru, and I will just go to a hotel. I've just
Yeah.
learned things about myself. I
And you know
can't do it.
what? We're not gonna lie. We did stay at a hotel
Oh, yeah.
once or twice because the cost of renting a campsite for the night where you're, setting up camp and your car is in a nice, safe, secure location, it's the same price as like a cheap hotel.
Yeah.
So instead of having to get up in the middle of the night and walk to the bathroom in the dark and like the fog and, hope to God you don't get murdered, we just got a room.
Yeah. It was just easier at that
It
point.
was easier.
And there was even a time that we rolled up to an RV site and they had closed their doors early.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. But then 5 blocks away, there's a hotel for the same exact price.
Literally Oceanside Motel. It works.
Or
It
Oceanside
worked.
Inn and Suites. And you know what? Was it the nicest place you and I have ever stayed?
People definitely have been killed there. Like there's not a chance. That place was I've stayed in places like that,
Yeah.
but it worked.
Yeah.
It was a bed.
It's a bed. Yeah.
And a shower with the craziest amount of pressure that if you turned it on and you didn't get in right away, the shower curtain would literally flap around,
Yeah.
literally like a tornado.
Even if your body was in the shower blocking.
It would still just suction it in because the pressure was so strong. It literally, I thought my nipple was going to start bleeding. I'm not kidding. I had to just stand
hit
with
you
my
so
back
hard.
to it. I was like, this is really uncomfortable.
Did you move the spout of the water?
Yes.
Word.
Yeah, it was intense.
But also we like a high pressure shower.
Yeah,
There's
it was
nothing worse
nice.
than like a drippy and you're like, I just need to feel clean.
No, I
please.
need my hair to I need my scalp to have at least like second degree burn a little bit. Like,
Yeah. But other than that, I feel like that kind of recaps all the things that we thought we were going to do. The vlogging, none of that happened. I think that you girls were just ready for a break. And I think also Nikki and I can fall into a good pattern of like, we can be quiet. There were definitely times where like, I know that I'd had a gummy. I'm not like a big gummy or drinker, but on this trip, like in the evenings, I was like, okay, I'm on vacation, whatever. And I know that I get really talkative in those moments, but otherwise I felt like we were comfortable just being like,
chilling.
we're chilling. We don't need to talk all the time. We talk for a living, believe it or not, with a camera in our hands, but we're still talking constantly.
We're literally talking right now.
We're literally talking right now. We do that for work, and then we made a new thing for ourselves where we have to talk even more.
Literally, we were okay, just not talking.
Yeah. But other than that, any other updates outside of the van? Life's good?
No, I'm happy to be home. I miss my dogs.
Oh, we should talk about last night, though. Did you watch the game?
Yeah, but it means nothing to me.
I'm actually sad. I don't care about the Chiefs. I don't care about Taylor Swift. Like, it's none of that. I think for me, as you know, I've watched that Michael Jordan documentary so many times, and I just think it's so cool. Like, that's history to have the Bulls win so much. And, like, I look at that and I go, God, I kind of wish I was an adult or a teenager when that was happening, just to, like, see the greatness of what's happening. So if the Chiefs would have won last night, it would have been historic, right? It's the first time in NFL history of a three-peat.
I don't think it is, actually. I think they posted that the Packers had won 3 in a row. And the last time was, like, years and years ago. I swear I saw, fact check me, please, because I don't know for sure.
So has the NFL team ever had a three-peat? The Chiefs would become the first team to ever do it with a win over the Eagles on Sunday.
Have the Packers three-peated? The Green Bay Packers have won 3 straight championships from 1965 to 1967.
But do they mean like the...
That was literally right the year before the Super Bowl began. So they have 2. So essentially they would have had 3 if the Super Bowl was a thing.
That's fair.
So unfortunately.
But I just think it would have been really cool. And the Chiefs, I don't know why people watch sports, because if I were a Chiefs fan, I would have been crying, shitting my pants. Like, it was depressing to watch. It was
Oh,
horrible.
it was a really bad game.
Yeah,
It was so bad.
I felt really bad for the people who really wanted the Chiefs to win. Again, I think it would have been cool, but I wasn't necessarily emotionally invested. But I was watching this game going, ew. It was like watching the Vikes a couple weeks back, where I was like, "What are we doing? Put me on the field."
I have more stake in that though. At this point, like literally, Craig was like, "Well, I already know who won the Super Bowl." So, like, 3 touchdowns, and he was like,
Oh,
"This
yeah.
is. I'm not sitting here. This is
Yeah.
pointless." Like,
Whereas for me, I'm like watching till the end because I'm an idiot. I don't watch football that much, so I don't know that like
Well-
once you get a couple touchdowns, like
well, and in Chiefs history, I think the last 2 times that they've won the Super Bowl, they've gone into the second or third quarter being 20 points down and have come back to win.
oh,
And in the one a couple of years ago, I think they were down to the wire because I do watch a lot of football actually with Craig, unfortunately. But I know that they have a comeback history
gotcha.
within, but the very first call on the very first play in the game was a call that was in favor of the Chiefs, which
Yeah.
everybody says like, oh, the ref's this, the ref's that. And it just wound up being like, okay, well, clearly this is not the day where the refs supposedly cheat for the Chiefs to
Yeah.
win. So it was something to watch, and Taylor Swift getting booed. I was like, what the fuck is going on in the world? I'm not a Swiftie. But you guys don't know her like that. You don't gotta boo her. Ice
Yeah.
Spice? That's a different story. Maybe they were booing Ice Spice, but
No, they were probably booing too. Well, when the Chiefs came on the field and I started to hear boos, I looked at Adam and I was like, they're not in Philadelphia, are they? And he's like, no, but apparently
Philadelphia
it's like
fans are insane too.
that. But he said the numbers he had read were like 2-1
Yeah.
Philadelphia fans over Chief. So he's like, there's a lot of Philly fans there. So I'm kind of not surprised that Taylor Swift was booed. Not
Yeah.
because there's anything wrong with her, but because
People don't want her to win.
again,
People don't want that
what
to
did we
eat.
say? A fucking eagle is gonna
Yeah.
come through and kill us because they're passionate about their team.
Hey, I'm not disappointed. I like Jalen Hurts. Craig likes card collecting as well. And we have a Jalen Hurts card, so that baby just went up in value.
There you
so
go. There you go.
I'm not mad about it.
I'm kind of sad that the other Kelsey brother is not on the Eagles.
I know this year to win, but he's won before.
I think he won and then he was like, I'm out.
No, they lost and then he was out. They lost last
You're right.
year, or 2 years ago.
To the Chiefs. And then,
Yes.
yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
2
because
years
I
ago.
asked Adam, I said, do you think Travis Kelsey would retire after losing, or do you feel like he feels like he needs to go out on a win? And he's like, no, his brother left after he lost. So
Yeah, but Travis
might
Kelsey is a very different person than Jason.
As someone who is a high calorie individual with no sportsman, like, put me in like a situation where I have to run and like I'm just gonna die. Travis looked tired.
He looked so
He looked tired. I was like, and he wasn't doing a whole lot in the game. Not due to him.
No, for
but
sure.
just I was looking at him and I was like, baby,
He looks different too. Travis Kelsey from a few years ago to Travis Kelsey Taylor Swiftified. I don't know how I feel.
But here's my thing. I feel like he looked different last night than he did from 6 months ago. So to me, it's not a Taylor thing.
I mean, physically, appearance wise.
Yeah, he just like, I don't know. It was the longer hair, the big bushy beard, like little, I don't know. Maybe she's feeding him really good.
Maybe.
But like, he's still a cutie. But I was like, baby, you look tired.
He did look really tired.
Maybe you should just focus on the podcast. You have endorsement deals up the ass. Just go live your life.
As we're just sitting here, like, God, Travis Kelsey looked like shit on the field last night. He sucks.
As I'm eating Sour Patch Kids. Oh, that was another thing, y'all, on our road trip. If I have a gummy that has any sort of THC in it, you best bet I'm going to have more gummies that are non-THC. So I'm not an actual candy.
Or a drink.
Yeah, or a drink. I'm not a candy person. Like, I don't buy candy. I don't ever keep candy around. But there was some Sour Patch Kids or whatever, sour watermelon. In the moment that I'm a little buzzed or whatever, I was crushing them like that kid from Matilda with the chocolate cake who was just eating things. And these weren't even mine. They were Nikki's.
I was going to say.
And I was like,
there weren't
hey.
some watermelon Sour Patch Kids. There were, and it wasn't a little bag, you
No, it's
guys.
huge.
It was the party pack. And I think I had 4 of these little
Yeah.
Sour Patch watermelon kids.
I
Sour Patch
couldn't
Kids
stop.
watermelon? Watermelon Sour Patch Kids. Anyway, let's jump into the story.
Sounds like a plan. I think you kick us off.
Okay. We hired a partial planner because we relied on her claim that she had a list of preferred vendors and her close colleagues would be open to sharing theirs as well. She did nothing. Often on our calls, she was in her car or at her kids' extracurriculars and never took any notes. She was hospitalized near the beginning and didn't say anything or have an assistant reach out to us, so I ended up apologizing profusely for being frustrated with her. For being frustrated with her non responses to our kind of urgent questions. Communication never improved despite me asking for at least. Okay, hang on. Communication never improved despite my asking for it at least twice. So when she canceled a phone call 15 minutes before it was scheduled, I fired her. I asked her for my huge refund, which I knew likely wasn't going to happen. Had she said, XYZ is non refundable and this terminates on our agreement, I'd have accepted that and moved on with my life. But she went on a 30+ single line text message tantrum, threatening to sue me. She had already had the full amount of our contract, refusing to give me a good email address to send formal confirmation to, another issue with communication, and just all around being unprofessional. She finally offered us a small refund, which I accepted, but she has still not sent it. Am I the asshole if I take her to small claims court and or warn other people about hiring her? I feel like that's very self-explanatory. Do you think you're the asshole?
No, honey.
Like, there's actually not a chance in any world if
No.
this is again, we've had episodes where it's like, this is a legal matter. You're
Yeah.
not the asshole if you have to take somebody to court
Yeah.
to get your money back
Yeah.
because they did not perform a service for you.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you even said, like, hey, she could have just said, look, you're canceling the contract. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't our, blah, blah, blah. And you would have accepted that. But this professional
Yeah.
went on an absolute,
unquote.
yeah, exactly. But went on an absolute tirade and saying that she's going to sue you. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
And I think what people don't understand when you're a wedding professional is like, you need to be responsive. And I know that even I struggle, like, obviously we were gone for a whole last week and I did not respond. In my email, I put like, if it's an emergency, you can text me, but like, not everything is urgent. Sometimes there are urgent things and you need to respond, especially if you're a planner. I can only imagine, like, sometimes things actually can't happen without you. From a photographer perspective, what do they really need to know from me that's necessarily urgent? So, like, I don't want to speak out of turn from a planner, side of things. But if I'm trying to get a hold of you multiple times, and the thing I don't like about that submission where she was like, I felt bad or I apologized for her unresponsiveness because she was hospitalized. I feel like someone should have told you that, whether it be her or if she's not able to.
Well, that's what she says. She didn't have an assistant or anybody reach out to us and let us know that she was not going to be able to communicate with us.
Yeah. So, like, your planner just falls off the face of the earth. And I get being like, okay, well, that was an isolated incident. It won't happen again. But for it to continue happening and then have a call, they cancel the call, you're just like, okay, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. Now, if that were me as the bride walking into that situation, I would assume that I'm not going to get my deposit back.
For sure.
And possibly the planner would look at it and be like, well, here's the amount of work I've done, which doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot. But if they had receipts of like, here's the hours of work that I've put in, here's what that equates to financially, and then here's the rest of the money back. But to flip it on you.
Also to send a 30 line, like to be popping off texts repeatedly and like, I don't know, crashing out on someone, just like sending texts over and over and over again where you're probably like rage texting at that point and just like that is so stupid. I'm sorry. Take it over to an email. Say like, unfortunately I need like, and I'm talking about the planner. I'm not talking about the bride here. I'm talking about the planner. Have enough couth and enough professionalism to just like gather yourself and your thoughts. If you want to send off a 30-line text, maybe send it to yourself first.
Read
or
it.
send it to, I don't know, a friend to go over it and say, like, should I send this? Because I guarantee you they're going to say, no, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
And if you need help, like, I don't know, ask ChatGPT to write your response or something. If you're really struggling with being a professional and not knowing how to respond or deal with a
Yeah.
situation, ask a friend or ask AI, because clearly they're here to take your friends' jobs and to give you advice on
Yeah.
how to respond to things. Like,
I think it's easy to know that you're probably in that moment as the wedding vendor going to come from a place of emotion instead
Yeah.
of logic. And I know, like, even recently, I've received a text message that I was like, oh, okay. And I sent back a response, and it was a lengthy response, but I did not feel like negative about the text message. I was like, oh, shoot, there's miscommunication. Okay, let me hash this out and like make sure they feel good. But if I read their text message and went like, oh, and like kind of like felt a certain way
yeah.
about it, like you said, you need to, I wouldn't even respond in the moment. Yeah, you can type out your feelings to no one in the send box so that you don't actually send it. Like, just hash out how you're feeling, but take a day, like sleep on it, and then write your email response. Because I learned that lesson the hard way when I worked at the bank, and I shot off an email once of someone who was in the wrong, but I called it out in a very direct fashion, in a
Yeah.
very not nice fashion or unprofessional. And my ass was in an office the next
Yeah.
day because they shot it off to my boss and essentially said, "Get your girl. Like, she's crazy." And you gotta kind of learn those lessons.
I think it's hard being a small business owner, but this is part of the responsibility that we take on in
Yeah.
terms of, you need to learn then how to manage your business and how to be responsive, or how to set up, different avenues to have that response time available to you. I know that like Honeybook has automated responses, and like Dubsado does, and all of these different platforms that you can use. Or you can hire a very probably cheap VA and just have somebody help you out with that stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's not your priority, then it's clearly going to show, and this type of stuff is going to happen. And now you owe your client a refund, and no, your client is not the asshole.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. I think that sometimes
As
we
a
forget,
planner.
yes, we are humans. And even in my investment guide, I talk about like, I'm not doing you a favor by taking these photographs, and you're not doing a favor by paying me. Like, this
Yeah.
is a partnership, but I'm still the business owner.
Right.
Like, I'm still running things, and it's important that you kind of remember, hey, you have to be organized. Like, yes, there is a method to your madness. Like, there are things that aren't super in line for me, but I'm always knowing what I need to be doing. But emails, my calendar, like I don't double book shit. Like, I don't know, just
Yeah.
things like that. I'm not booking meetings and then like, oh my God, I accidentally booked. It just doesn't happen, because I know that if I were on the other side of that, I'd be irritated as fuck.
For sure.
I'd be like, okay, well, I hired an idiot, clearly, and I paid them a lot of money, and now I'm pissed. Anyways. So that's all we have to say
You're
about
not the asshole. You clearly are not the asshole. Take this person to court, get your money back. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Agreed. Okay, before we get into the next story, I want to call out two things. Something that we forgot about the road trip. There was an airport lockdown.
Oh my God.
So Nikki and I, she has clear, I have TSA pre-check. So we're kind of neck and neck in terms of, being in line for security. I had to check a bag. So like, but we have seen each other, right? Well, Nikki is the type of person where she's like, she'll be walking and she doesn't need to stand side by side and like have a conversation the whole time. So I just assumed that you got through TSA and just kind of kept walking. You know what I mean? I didn't think twice about it. So I get through TSA and I just keep walking.
Meanwhile, I'm waiting for Meg.
Meanwhile, she's standing in the sidelines waiting for me. And I take my little escalator down to the tram. And I get a call from Nikki and she goes, "Hey, where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm at our gate." She's like, "Okay, well, I will head there now." She starts walking to the escalator. Everything in the airport shuts down.
Literally, there's an overhead call. And mind you, with everything that's going on in the aviation world lately, this did not make me feel very good or safe or comfortable, because all of a sudden, especially if you've seen that movie with Jason Bateman recently, the Carry On Bag movie, where it's
I
like,
haven't.
it's pretty good, but that's what it reminded me of, because not only there was an overhead announcement, this is just right side outside of TSA, right in between where you get your shit and you get on the escalator. And this is in Vegas, so it's not, if you're imagining the MSP airport, it's not the same. There's a little announcement, and all of a sudden, every line in TSA stops, and all of the TSA agents come out and start blocking every escalator, every elevator, and every walkway that's available. And then all of the airport police come out on their little bikes and start canvassing the area looking for somebody, Jason Bateman apparently. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like,
Like, I have a flight to catch. And here I am sitting at the gate just waiting for her. Ding, da, ding, da, ding. And she's like, well, hopefully I make it.
Yeah.
I felt very bad. I was nervous that you'd not make it, but it worked out.
We had
because
plenty of time.
Our flight, we didn't board, I think, till
Yeah.
20 minutes or half hour late.
And we still landed early, which was lovely.
We love to see that. The other thing is, while we were in Vegas, I didn't call out. We were sitting on top of a bar in Vegas, and in the middle of the night, some stranger whom I've never met,
Oh my God.
my knight in shining armor, tells me,
It's a woman.
she can be a knight, I think. I tried to, in the moment, think of what she would be called, but she let me know that Beyonce dropped a tour announcement. So this is just a reminder to all that I need your money, because, no, I'm just kidding, but Beyonce is coming to town. She's not coming to Minneapolis, which is very sad to me, but a lot of you, if you know me, you know that I love Beyonce. So yes, I will absolutely be going to the Cowboy Carter tour. Hopefully more than one. I just might have to go alone to a few of them.
For your sake, I hope you do, because I have never in my life witnessed somebody have a physical reaction to anything like that I've ever seen in my life. And
Tears were shed.
will never understand it, and I'm okay with that. And I know you're okay with that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I cried in front of strangers.
Not strangers, my friends.
Well, to me, they were strangers. By the way, just in case any of them are listening, you are all so amazing.
They're so great.
I loved you all so much.
Fortunate.
You were so, so great to be around and just welcoming to me, another stranger. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, I shed tears. I am so excited to go. It is half the amount of shows it normally is. It is barely any cities. So we're going to have to finagle some craziness. But
That'll be a fun show, though. That'll be really cool.
it'll be good. I need to get Adam some cowboy boots and some Daisy Dukes.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's
A
supposed to
little
wear to
cut-off
this
shirt.
thing.
He can wear a white t-shirt and boot jeans. And
I was like, what do people wear to an actual country? See, I feel bad saying that, but like to an actual country show.
as she just won the country.
I do see this album as country, but I don't listen to country music that often unless it's like 1990 Garth Brooks. I don't go to country shows, so I don't know what the attire is, but I'll figure it out. The other thing I wanted to talk about really quick.
Countryman aesthetic.
There we go. I like it. Actually, I'll get him, if you've ever seen Orville Peck, I'll get him a masquerade mask. Okay, get those photos. Wait, actually, I have to send those. I can put those on screen for YouTube and Spotify. But have you seen the previews for this show called Extracted?
Yes.
So Adam and I were talking about it yesterday, and I go, I think we'd be really good at that show. And he said, honey.
There's no
He
way.
said-
Are you? I think you have a different idea. Wait, what did I?
He looked at me and he said, honey, I would pull you out within seconds. And I go,
Yeah.
why?
Yes.
Because here I'm thinking he's going to be mean to me. You know what he says? He says, I could not watch you suffer for 1 second before immediately pulling you out. And I said, baby, you could ask me to pull you out. And I'd be like, bitch, there's 250 grand on the line. You sit put. Mama needs to renovate this house. No, in no way do I think that I could survive a show like that.
Yeah.
Now, let me say, I can do anything. I actually believe that. in no way would I put myself in a situation to have to deal with that. But I truly believe that no matter what situation I'm presented, like that I just have to go through, I'm going to get through it. I'm a very independent and capable person. Like, I've built this business up from scratch. We're doing this from scratch. Like, I can do whatever the fuck I set my mind to. I don't want to set my mind to that.
I was gonna say, yeah, building a business and I don't know, having spiders crawl all over your face or being stranded in a forest with, mountain lions is a little.
You put money in front of me? Look.
We should try this. We should test this theory out.
You know what? You scrape together 250K and maybe we'll
Okay, guys,
call
we're
it
starting a GoFundMe. Everybody
see if Meg
donate.
could
Link
last
in our bio.
20 minutes in this situation.
We'll say 5.
I could do
I
5.
could do. Yeah, I think you could do 5.
Okay, so before I get into the story, people have been asking on my Instagram, so I'm just gonna toss it out there. This case, if you can see it, it is a company called Memoir. It's like memory without the Y. You can customize things on it, and then they fill in the blanks. So shout out to Memoir. In no way is this affiliated. I tried, but they have no opportunity for that for a lowly person like me. So anyways, story number 2. So might not have been a complete horror story, but definitely uncomfortable. I had the florist come up to me while everyone is getting ready and asked if she could have a photographer of her own come in and photograph some of the venue setup for her branding. I said that was fine as long as it didn't interfere with the couple or the wedding timeline/flow. Should it have been brought up ahead of time? Yes, but whatever. She seemed very professional and it was an easy concession to make. Until after the ceremony. Not only did the other photographer take photos throughout the whole ceremony, she then borrowed the couple afterwards for a few pictures. I'm only doing this because this is in the submission. This was the point where I had to step in and say, hey, I'm so glad you're as excited as I am for A and B, and your team has done a marvelous job decorating the space, but I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to stop taking photos so that I can work with the bride and groom and keep us on schedule. All in all, 0 out of 10 will not be allowing that from another vendor unless discussed thoroughly with set boundaries ahead of time.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know who's submitting this, a photographer or a planner. This should not have gone on throughout the ceremony.
True.
Like, pre-ceremony, if you see somebody setting up or lingering with their gear, a reminder needs to be had.
Yeah.
Like, given. You need to take it upon yourself and go up to that person and say, hey, just a reminder as the lead photographer, like, I'm not comfortable and I don't want this to interfere with the couple. It's also in my contract. I would really appreciate it if you could. You're welcome to hang out. If you could please put your gear away and, hang with the florist, that would be great. Anything beyond that, or even the wedding planner. As a photographer, if I had seen this, I would have gone up to the wedding planner first and said, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want this to interfere with A and B's day. Can we please ask so-and-so to either leave or put their gear away and just hang with their vendor, friends, or team? Because I don't want this in any way to affect the couple.
Yeah.
Like,
this is the opposite of advice that I think we gave a couple episodes back, because I don't think it is horrible for a florist to want to bring their own.
Either.
But I feel like if the photographer hasn't left before the main photographer gets there, they need to be hidden. Like, they should not even, couple shouldn't even have eyes on them. And I will say, someone commented on our Instagram, and their comment was very passionate, which we can appreciate the passion behind your comment, but they were very adamant that, like, this is my day, this is not for content for you, all of this different stuff. And while I do appreciate that perspective, I don't necessarily think we're coming at this from a content perspective. Like,
not
no,
at all.
The florist needs content, but content has a negative connotation. But when you booked that florist, you looked at their photographs.
Their content.
Their content.
You looked at that content.
We're getting those kind of messages mixed here, where those photographs are content that were taken to showcase to you as a bride or to you as a couple. Here's what you can expect. So if the if the florist is getting a ton of galleries back that don't actually represent what they made, I do understand the sticky position that puts a florist in, or if that, puts a planner in. So I don't have a problem with you. I've even said that when I first started to a florist, I was like, go for it, girl. But yeah, that person needs to be gone. I honestly, the couple shouldn't even see them.
I think this went too far.
Agreed.
I think this
And
is a horror story. It says not a complete horror story, but I would be horrified.
The way that this was handled, and we talked about this, I think, on our road trip. I am a kind person, but I'm not necessarily always a nice person. Like, I will give you the shirt off my back. I will give you more money than you need when I'm when I'm doling out cash to people who are asking for it. I try to see the good, but if you are acting poorly, I don't mind calling that out, even if you think, well, Meg's not nice. I'm like, okay, well, you don't know how kind I am, but you're pissing me off right now. Bless you. No, you're good. You're pissing me off, so you gotta go. I think how you approached them was more than nice, because
this was like way too nice.
I would not have been that nice.
But also, like, the expectation should have been set beforehand, and if it was set and then that boundary was crossed, immediately it needs to be addressed immediately. This isn't a rehearsal dinner. This is somebody's wedding day, and if I'm the planner or if I am the lead photographer for the day that has been hired, I'm going to bet my ass that I am going to be doing whatever it is to make this couple feel comfortable, safe, valued on their wedding day. And that does not include a stranger showing up and wanting to take portraits. Like,
Agreed.
You got to go. I don't care. And I will be very nice about it. But at the end of the day, like, this is not what you're here for.
Yeah.
Because at this point, you're getting content for yourself.
Oh, yeah. Because what do you need these photos for? I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, yes,
what are you going to send these to the couple?
Yeah, the setup and the branding, like, I can appreciate all of that, but you don't need photographs of the couple.
No, you don't get to steal the couple for a few portraits. That's honestly insane.
Yeah.
Insanity. So don't be that person.
And you and I have worked together on a wedding where the venue had someone come through and they were just taking some photos of the setup.
But they were lingering.
And I went to the planner and I said, I am not trying to be difficult, but
I remember I went up to you and I said, hey, just an FYI, like, this is literally as people are getting ready for the ceremony. People are coming in, they're getting seated for the ceremony. And I was like, Meg, this person is setting up tripods and they're not leaving.
Yeah.
Like, there's something happening here that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, no, we nipped that real quick. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about, because I'm curious on your thoughts here before we close out the show, is someone submitted that they're moving to a new state. They're overwhelmed by the idea of having to rebuild their wedding business in a place where they have no network or connections. What advice would you give to them?
Always, my glasses and my headphones are not compatible at all times. My suggestion is always hop on either like a Facebook group or an Instagram group, or message, like, find local photographers that you can message, get coffee with. Don't necessarily get coffee to, like, pick their brain and quote unquote use them. You never want somebody to feel like they're being used by you. You want it to feel very organic, and like, you truly do just want to connect and get to know people so that you can build those relationships in the new state and city that you're moving to. So that would be my suggestion, is like, network yourself, but also just genuinely try to meet people for the sake of meeting people, because they could become your friends. And also, they can become your greatest allies in terms of keeping you on as a second shooter, or using you as an associate, or recommending you as a vendor. Those, like, making those human connections, as hard as it is to put yourself out there, especially if you're a little shy, like, you have to have a little bit of, low-hanging nuts to say, hey, I need to put myself out there, and I'm going to put myself out there. Otherwise, how is anybody going to get to know me?
And not only from an other vendor perspective, but couples, like, you kind of have to realize that being an introvert is totally fine in this job, but you have to have some more moments of, like, extrovert, because you essentially are selling yourself to these couples to book you. But I do agree that, and it's time and effort, and there's no workaround for it. There's no, like, get rich quick, get 50 bookings a year quick. Like, you have to put the work in, especially in a new environment. So I agree with you with the networking. One tip I have, though, is don't push it. if the person that you are trying to get coffee with or whatever, the last thing you want to do is DM them 1,000 times
Yeah.
and be aggressive with them. I'm calling it out. I'm not calling any specific person out, but like if you're DMing someone and you're aggressive with them trying to get coffee or like, why are you not responding to me? Baby
We're
girl,
busy.
not only are we busy, you're a stranger to me right
Yeah.
now. And to be aggressive with someone, especially multiple people, I'm going to tell you, that'll get around the community and that'll bite you in the butt quicker than anything. But find people who you jive with and pour into those connections. But understand, like, there are a couple planners that I've met and I've, like had interactions with and stuff, and we don't like immediately hit it off. I'm not in their inbox trying to push that relationship where I go, we might just not be a perfect fit in terms of
Yeah.
personalities, and that's totally okay.
It is
You got to find
okay.
your people.
And that's why I think like a group, going into a Facebook group, like I know that we have a couple here in the Twin Cities that are wedding photographer specific. And I think that every community likely has one of those. So I would post in a group, hey, I'm new to the community. Is anybody down for like getting coffee? I would love to just chat or meet some new people in my area when I move. That's a good way to like start building those connections with people who also are looking for that connection back.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe in cold calling, cold DMing. Like I've never done that. I've had it done to me a couple of times and I typically am like, I don't know what to say back to you.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm very nice, but I just think that finding a community of people instead of like trying to single people out, especially if they have a larger following or you think that they could be beneficial to your business, that's where the point of it feels like maybe you're using somebody for personal gain to get ahead, whereas meeting people in a group or setting or
natural.
allowing people to come to you, if you're throwing something out there and you're allowing people to come to you and you're attracting the same type of energy that you're putting out, I think that's a lot more organic, a lot more natural way of doing it and will benefit you in the long run. Because like you said, even couples, like how are they going to find you? Well, they'll find you by, the makeup artist who you met is recommending you because they loved meeting you and getting coffee with you and have seen your work and know that you're amazing. Like those are ways that you get vendor recommendations. Those are ways that you get client recommendations and just, be a very authentic person.
Agreed. And the last thing I'll say on that is second shooting, the like cold calling of it. I do understand that to an extent where you're like, look, I don't know any of these people. I want a second shoot, but whatever. I do agree meeting people naturally or kind of in that group format. If you are going to quote unquote cold call, I'm having a stroke, someone about to second shoot, be very intentional with your email. Do not just send them an email that says, do you need any second shooters this year? Here's my portfolio. Number one, you've just made work for me. Now I need to like go look through your portfolio, go dig through XYZ, trying to find what I'm looking for. Instead, what I would do is I would send a very descriptive email of like, here's why I want to work for you, specific photographer. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's my gear list. Here's what I'm looking to learn, or maybe my aspirations for the next year or two, because there's nothing worse than like having someone who's super duper interested in second shooting. They second shoot once and they go like, I don't really care that much about photography. Photography is my entire life. And that's not to say that's right. I'm always looking for people to work with other people who are very passionate about what they're doing. And also like, thank them for their time and send them a couple galleries showing like, here's, 2 or 3 full galleries that I have, or here's 2 or 3 galleries that I second shot for. So they know, hey, it's not going to be 1,000 photos. It might be 500 photos, but be very intentional because you wouldn't believe how many people will DM me or email me or even text me to second shoot for me. Put your email or your message at the top of the pile of going like, no, I'm going to blow these bitches out. Like my email is going to be better than anybody else's. That is how you stand out. And that mindset will just kind of help you when it comes to couples and all that jazz. Second shooting though, I think is going to be your best ticket into building your business in that network.
And building your portfolio wherever you are, because you're getting into those venues, you're meeting other vendors. Not to say that it's your job that day as a second photographer to take on that kind of lead role or personality, because it's not. Don't overstep boundaries or step on people's toes, but it's a nice way to get your foot in the door, to get, some content
Yeah.
for yourself out of work and really placing importance on being a really good second photographer for whoever you're working for in your new state or city.
Yeah. One of my closest vendor friends is a venue that I second shot at, but I connected so much with the owner that was there. I think it was their very first wedding. And I connected so much with the vendor that her and I got to DMing and then emailing, and then like it was all natural. I did not seek her out trying to get anything. And that stuff just comes with time.
Yeah.
And that's hard, is to just be like, time. You got to put the time in.
Yeah, because not everybody's going to respond to you either. Like, even
Yeah.
if you do send those really detailed emails, like, there are times where people might just be in the throes of things and doing their own business and don't need a second photographer. And that's okay. Just like, it takes time. Don't get discouraged. That's a tough move.
Agreed. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for joining Cocktail Hour. Don't forget to subscribe and review the pod wherever you listen.
Make sure you follow along with us on Instagram at cocktailhour.podcast and submit all of your stories. The link is in our bio, and absolutely everything is anonymous.
Agreed. Also, we're supportive girlies, so anything we chatted about today on the pod, you can find in the show notes. Also, what are you nuts if you're not watching on YouTube and Spotify? Because we're going to share photos on the screen, all that good stuff. You can watch Nikki fly through the sky, and
You can watch me sneeze 17 times in one episode.
17 times. It was delectable. Anyways, we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye.